Innocent woman in broad daylight. Understandably, it's alarming and heartbreaking for everyone. This kind of gang-related violence, it's not new around here. It has changed, though. Reporter Claudia Rowe has taken a close look at gangs and gang culture here in our state over the past decade, and she's here. Let me just get your first reaction when you hear this. I was almost in tears yesterday. I was so angry about this because we've had so much violence this year. But when you widen it out a little bit and you look back over the last 20 years, kind of put that in perspective for us.
It is cyclical. It tends to spike and ebb over the years. It's sort of about every 10 years it appears to spike. Actually, this year, the prosecutor's office says that shootings are down about 22%. That's not going to be any comfort to anyone who is affected by what happened yesterday.
What's different about gang violence now than it was in the early 90s and the late 90s? Location
primarily, that's the first thing. Almost all of it is happening south of Seattle. And in the early 2000s and 90s, it was heavily concentrated in the black community in Seattle. Now, many more Latino kids, East African as well, and south of Seattle. Also, one gang expert told me that initiations and sort of what a gang is expecting of new initiates has changed. And where 10 years ago, the gangs involved in yesterday's shooting, believed to be involved in yesterday's shooting, would expect a 13-minute jumping in, which is sort of like beating up an initiate. Now they're expecting greater commitment, which is a drive-by.
Yeah, and they're luring the young kids. I mean, they're coming at them at 12, 13 years old. We know that in South King County. What's the solution here? Throwing a bunch of money at it? That hasn't worked before, has it?
Not really. About 10 years ago, Seattle got really upset about this problem and vowed to put $8 million toward youth violence prevention initiatives. They did that, and now the prosecutor's office is saying they took a hard look. It didn't really have any provable benefits. It was a lot of after-school programming, summer jobs, that kind of stuff. All good, helpful, but not really stemming this problem.
There is a program, though, that appears to be working, at least in other cities. Talk about that and how that might help in a situation like this.
There's a program called the Credible Messengers, and it is, as you would say, credible messengers. These are generally men who have done some really long, hard time. When they come out, in addition to not having a ton of work experience or job skills, they do have some really valuable experience, and that is working with young people and telling them what they know. So these men are paid. This started in Washington, D.C. It moved to New York and Chicago. It's just started in Seattle. These guys are paid a solid wage to impart what they know to young people and sort of divert them and really work with them. They are forming relationships. This is primarily within the black community, and the prosecutor's office is saying we really need this kind of community involvement with Latino kids, people who can speak Spanish, and in the East African community as well.
Kids, these guys have street cred, and they'll look up to them, and then maybe they'll listen to them, and we'll lower the violence. Claudia, thank you very much. We certainly appreciate that.
Thank
you.
To
read much more about Burion's gang violence, including this most recent death, head to our website, q13fox.com.
After being in critical